Yeah, there's no sound, John.
Yeah, I just heard, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I will try and get it sorted out. Honestly, I feel all right, rookie. And I've been on StreamYard 2 years now. Bloody hell. Trace this sound back on. Right, so I've got Tracy in the stream, ladies and gentlemen. You can only hear a voice, so you can't see your avatar or anything. I just don't know why I did this before, but thank you everyone for tuning in. Sound now. All right, sorry about that. Right, well, that was a bit of the beginning of Tracy's documentary. It's on my channel. I'll put the link in the description to this video anyway. Is Tracy's YouTube and Fighting for Justice Facebook page as well. They're both in the description to the video. One sec. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Diane. Mum's a word. Dual Face Monkey, thank you. Leo, Mark Jones, DJ Cuts. Tracy's already said in. Mark Jones, Ricky Keith. Thank you, guys. Yeah, we was in Merseyside last night, did a couple of speeches and that to do with the party, so a good thing. But thank you, Craig, and good to meet you last night, pal. But yeah, it's been 5 years, guys. And I mean, I've only just broke it, but I've had that on for over 3 years, and I don't take my bands off me. And people always ask me, you know, what they represent. I've got Justice for Ellie one there, but I've had this over 3 years, about 3.5 years. So 2018 was at Speaker's Corner, and Tommy were doing the Martin Selnut speech, and we went down. I'd seen Tracy just from the side, but there was that many people that I was filming myself, couldn't stop or anything like that. So when I get home, I searched in YouTube for Speaker's Corner, and the first video that came up was Tracy's video off her channel. And I think at this time, Tracy only had 2 or maybe 3 videos on a channel. And it's a very good video to watch because it gives you a lot of what's going on in the whole story. Obviously, the media were involved, and I mean, the media spotlighted me, James, and Tracy in a 30-minute thing. But the way the media acted and stuff like that, and I mean, I'm not ignorant to injustices, but since Tracy's case, my eyes have been opened. You know, it's like before I thought that there was just a couple of people within the government who were bad and who were doing things, or a small organisation. It's just not that. It's every level of the police, the MPs, the councillors, every level that they're against you. You know, that they're against you. And I've said, I've made my own opinion after going down and for these past couple of years looking at different stuff and seeing evidence and talking to people. My opinion is that they knew what was going to happen and did the best to cover it up. And, you know, there's other cases I know of that are bad, maybe just as bad, but nobody knows about any of these. Nobody cares about it. And if people do know, they don't do enough to open people's eyes. They really don't. And I mean, a lot of you will know I'm not a guy who just says I like to do. So last year, Christmas, I spent 3 days in the area where they were killed on my own. I put my banner up next to Active's banner for the couple of days it were there. And somebody even met me like on my last day, and we talked about the case. And you know, I have to get a feel. I want to know what's going on in the area. I have to get a feel. I have to talk to people. I can't just comment on YouTube or comment on this. I need to get involved, and so that's what I did. Tracy, you know that you're muted. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, that's fine, John. I was wondering if I left and come back in, do you think my avatar will come up then?
It might do. It might do. It might do. We'll pray that it does.
I'll try that.
Yes, Diane, I totally agree. It's just a shame that, like, and the other thing that I've learned is how two-faced people are. I'm going to be blunt. People who I might have thought are on the right side, or I might have thought we're friends and all that. And I've been in a situation where people have talked to me to trying to get me to come away or come off supporting Tracy. Honestly, that people have physically really done that. And with what I know and what they should know, I can't understand why anyone would do that unless it's for a nefarious reason. And I'll be blunt, I'll be blunt, and I've said this before. Certain people in this cause want all the attention, and they're not happy when other people get attention. And I'll tell you what, Tracy got a lot of attention off normal members of the public, lots of patriots, loads of friends of mine, and we still support her. That's not good for some people, because that attention is what pays the wages and things like that. They don't like it. And I'll tell you this, I'll be straight. I've said this a couple of times. I'll be absolutely bang on straight. That's what I've said quite a few times. And I've learned all this. I've never seen this before, but I had to learn this myself. I had to see it in action and experience it myself to understand what was going on. And, you know, nobody will come up with any relevant thing to tell me why this case is all bullshit. Nobody can. They just say a couple of things. They'll make it out like that it's focused on one particular person or stuff like this, when it's not. It's a lot mainly to do with the police. Forget the guy who did the murder. It's mainly to do with the police, because they knew that something was going on. They may have known the guy. It just says audio only, but Tracy is in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. She is. I don't know why I don't show her avatar. Let me right. I just think it might be something to do with me. Let me just check again. No. Right, I'll just take add her in. No, it still says audio only, but you're here, Tracy. That's the main thing.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for hosting this stream tonight and inviting me on, John.
No worries, Tracy. Always for you. Always. I haven't had as much time because obviously I've been in the elections and that, but you know, always for you, always. And you know, it's the case I always talk about. And when I'm out regular, I might have your flag with me. And people, like I said, people ask on the bands. They'll always ask me, and I'll stop and tell them the full story and everything, what I know and stuff. But you know, it really got me, like the way the media were involved in all this, and the way they all just like reported the same thing. They had the same people on, and there's been, has any kind of media, Tracy, supported you? Any kind of mainstream media? Has anyone said anything supportive in this case?
I had one particular woman. I'm yet to actually put the recording out on that, and weirdly, it's a recording that I thought about last night. One particular woman who worked for a certain newspaper called me, and during our discussion, she was agreeing with the things I said. But then, after actually having that discussion with her, I heard from her no more. But I've actually got that recording. But with regards to the rest of the mainstream media, no. Every time we spoke to them, they said that they would report what we were saying. And then when the story came out in the media, it was the complete opposite of what we said to them. They were still stuck to the fake narrative of what the police portrayed. And that's what we had all the way through. Now, the last time we spoke to any mainstream um, paper magazine back in 2018 was the New magazine. And that was the last time I had anything to do with any mainstream magazine or newspapers. And we spent over 3 hours speaking to them and giving them, not just what they could say was just our opinion on what happened to our boys, giving them facts, actual facts in that 3 hour meeting. Anyway, they then took photos and said that they would print this in the New magazine on what we've actually told them. When that magazine came out, I was utterly horrified at the story, the fake story that they'd interpreted and put in that magazine. And I actually wrote to the editor of New magazine, and I asked them that when they put their magazine out next, their next issue, to retract what they'd written and put an apology in there for their fake story. They even wrote things like that I'd said death by dangerous driving was murder, so that they could then try and portray me saying that our boys were murdered by linking it to saying that I'm saying they were murdered because it was death by dangerous driving. That's not what I was saying, and it's not what I said. But that's how they use psychology and change, wordplay. But anyway, I never ever got that retraction. But I've got the evidence of all of that, because what they don't realise is that that 3 hour interview was recorded. So the 3 hour interview matching, I can show the media up for what they are. They have no clue on the evidence we have. They know what obviously I've put out in the mainstream regarding our boys, and obviously part one of the documentary. Part two can come out after we've taken the police to court, because we have to show what the police did first to be able to then get the correct charges on all of those that were in that car that night, not just the one they claimed was the driver.
Well, I think personally, that not just through what you've told me, but I think there were at least three people in the car. That's what I think. And why do I say this? Because there was a couple of reports in news articles that said that they think there was more than two people in the car. This is what the media said. So, I've no doubt, I think there was at least three people in the car. And I know you. I think you think there were more people in car, but I'm sure, mate. I'm sure, because, like you said, the media don't know what they're doing. They slipped up. A couple of reports do state that there was set. They don't state for definite fact, but they're saying in the reports that there's more than two people in the car. That's what they say in these couple of media things. So I've no doubt, me. But I mean, because of this, then, so the police and media, like, there must be a chief inspector who phoned, or the media contacts him, said, listen, I want to speak to your editor, and then tell the editor that, what they have to do. They must be in collusion with them all the time, and like,
Well,
you think, Do you understand what I mean?
Well, I was just going to say to you, I can prove a point that they are in collusion with them, because the first day at the Old Bailey, there was a phone call made to the press office. One of the parents made the phone call, and there was a reason why they made that phone call. But this was just before we was going into court. Now they already knew what he was going to plea before we even got into the court. That was the press. That was the press.
It's
Now,
wrong.
how
Yeah.
do they have the right to even know the plea before you've gone into court and they've plead?
Yeah. No, they haven't. They haven't got it. They haven't got the
And they
right.
already knew it, John. They already knew it. Like, there's so much, and I've put so much in the public domain for people to see what I'm saying is the truth here. And what I've always been saying is the truth. Along the way, during the near enough 5 years now, which it'll be next week, we've found out a lot more on top of that. And
Mm,
there's a lot of stuff that I haven't put in the public domain, because if I put everything in the public domain, when I get into court, it will be chucked out. The judge will use a technicality and say, well, it's all in the public domain, and that could sway a jury. So I can't do that. But
mm.
I've put enough in there that documentary alone tells you enough.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. And I know you've got more stuff. I know that, and I get it. But like I said, I mean, a lot of people see the case online, but you know me. I like to see what's going on. Really, that's why I spent 2 nights in that hotel down the road to get a feel of the area, to see what was going on. But I mean, just since that visit, and the last time we were down lighting candles, I remember. Talking to someone, and not all the road layouts have been changed in that area, haven't they?
They have, John, and they've added. Do you know what? That's a really good point that you've raised that. I'm sorry to quickly stop you there, but
mm,
the reason being they've changed lots of things on that road, a hell of a lot, including lampposts. And obviously, it's now got a Starbucks and everything around it. But even though that can happen on any roads, a Starbucks being built and everything else, but they've totally changed so much of it because they want to disguise what it originally looked like. Now,
mm,
I've got screenshots. Yeah. Now, anyone who knows about driving, yeah, let's just give you this as an example. Anyone who knows about driving, who's a driving instructor, or anyone like that. And to be fair, even though I passed my test back in the 90s, I even forgot about this rule. Now there's a rule that when you see um, a traffic sign that's a white circle with a black line going through it, which is national speed limit, which there is one at the start of Shepperdston Lane, right? But there is a rule that if you see that and then you see lampposts that are 200 meters apart from each other, and there's buildings there, which there is with the Premier Inn and everything, then it's a 30-mile road. It's not a 60-mile road. And I've got, going back, way back to like 2015, I've got every picture of that road when you go into Shepperdston Lane. And that clearly shows that was 30 miles. Yet they were portraying it as a 60-mile road on the news. But
right.
anyone, yeah. So that's another thing that I'm just letting out now that I haven't let out before. Because with regards to what we do have, that's a small thing in it. But it's a massive thing in it at the same time.
Yeah.
You see all these tiny details. It's like they said the cameras. Now you was in the Premier Inn, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Right. So they said there was no cameras in the Premier Inn that face the road. Well, there's one. If you go down there, there's a camera there that faces the road.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah. So by you going and seeing the scene yourself and researching it yourself, is the correct thing to do, because you haven't just got the media's version. You've got what you know and what you can see with your own eyes. Um, you know, and which is a better way with anything to research things yourself. And I always say this to people, please research things yourself, especially
Yeah.
when it comes down to media stories. With regards to our boy's case, I know that it's not an isolated case. I know there's been many. But one of the reasons they don't want to own up to our boy's case is because it's going to open a can of worms. How many families are going to sit there and question, well, hang on a moment, was we told the truth by the police? Because when anything happens to a loved one, whether it's abuse or they die or whatever, just anything, they only have what the police tell them. They don't have anything else other than that
Mm.
unless they research that story themselves. And
Yeah.
the media, and the media will
Well,
always back up what the police say.
yeah. Yeah, they certainly will. And, I don't doubt me, Tracy, that not just the police, the Met Police, all the police forces are corrupt in that kind of way. As you know, the Justice for Ellie case has been on, and she got found guilty. But what they're not telling you is that the police data breached and give members of the public details to the media. That's what they're not, and that's a big thing. You can't do that, Tracy. If I report into the police, they can't give that report to the media. They're not allowed to if it's going to lead to an active investigation and stuff like that. Obviously, if someone gets charged, that will go in the media, but they're not allowed to. And they definitely data breached in the case of Ellie. They've obviously, and I think the data breached in your case as well, and there'll be other cases across the country where they have data breached. You know what I mean? But we don't know all the ins and outs. Like you said, you were just a normal person before this started, and your eyes have been opened. You've seen a different world or different reality than what the real reality is, with all the snidey police. And like a few years ago, I did have a bit of faith in the police, and I want to, but I can't when I see cases like yours and I see what they've done in across the country in like the rape gang scandal. I can't. I just don't know what to do, Tracy. And I have to work with the police, and I've got to have some kind of relationship with the police. I've got to. I've got to. Otherwise, I'm never going to get anywhere in what I want to do and the stuff I want to do. But no, it's just it's scary,
Well, the
Tracy.
thing is, the police are a law are a law unto themselves, And when I did a live the other day, I did have to commend a woman because at the time, you've got all these things going on. You can see everyone's lying around you to you, and you're seeing this whole new world of what you thought you lived in and seeing that it's not what you lived in, and being brought up to believe we have this fantastic justice system, only to find that that's not the case. But again, as time goes on and you sit back and you think back to the incidences and what was going on, what we have to remember is, for me, everything starts with the
Still
they
there?
give that case to the CPS. Now, I remember sitting in a meeting with 15 people at the CPS. We sat there for 2 hours explaining to the CPS how what happened to our boys was murder. And then I showed the CPS lawyer pictures of one of those in the car social media. I showed some of the pictures that was on one of those in the car social media. I'm just going to repeat it again. And I gave them those pictures and I went, look at those pictures. What does this tell you? So they looked at it. Oh, I don't know what that was. So they looked at, oh, I think your sound's gone, John.
Yeah, sorry about that. The
Oh, that's
carer
okay.
just setting off with my mum.
That's
So
okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. So I was in this meeting with the CPS anyway. I'd showed them pictures from the social media from one of those in the car that night. And the lawyer for the CPS said, well, yeah, it is uncomfortable reading. I said, And then one of the coppers then read the collision report, and the collision report clearly stated he didn't lose control of the car. And where the media was reporting he lost control of the car, and many of the media reports were saying that our boys were at a bus stop, and they never were. That was a school bus stop for a start. Anyone, if they researched the bus stop, would have seen it was a school bus stop. This was late at night, so that was an impossibility. But that was to portray to the public a reason of how that car could have aimed for 5 children. Let's pretend they're all huddled round a bus stop waiting for a bus. So that was just a psychological tactic, and again a play on words to print in the media so that the general public would believe this fake story. So I'm sitting in that meeting, and at the end of it, after the report was read, after I showed these pictures, after we said what we had to say, I said to the CPS woman, I said, and what do you believe the charge should be? And I've got to commend her. She was had courage enough to say murder. That's what the charge should be. But she said in front of the police, she said, all we can do is go on the evidence that the police give us.
Yeah.
So even though she believed different, she could only use the material and the disclosure of what the police gave them, which was all fake anyway. So, and then what happens with that evidence? That's the evidence that gets put into a court bundle and issued to the court. So it's the
Mm.
same evidence. So you've got this trail of deceit going round and making everyone look deceptive, when really it boiled down to what the police was given, that gave to the CPS, that gave the same bundle to the court, because I have the court bundle. I'm now in possession of that. I didn't have it, in the beginning when we realised um, that what the police were telling us was full of lies. Anyway, and then you get the police's what they call complaints procedure. Now, it's not a complaint when it involves misconduct, perjury, falsifying of evidence, bringing in fake witnesses, retyping up witness statements, yeah, tampering with the CCTV. They massively tampered with the CCTV. And these are all facts that can be proved. And it's not hard to prove them. So but they call this a complaint,
Mm.
right? So you put in your complaint. Now, when it involves cover up and corruption, when you're putting in what they call a complaint regarding to the police, which we did, the IOPC that is meant to be an independent body of the police is not an independent body of the police. They work together. And when it involves cover up and corruption, the IOPC are meant to take on that complaint and not let the police deal with it. It's in their own policy and procedure. Subsection 8 of page 49. It's in their own policy and procedure, and they are then meant to deal with that complaint because it involves corruption. Well, the IOPC wouldn't do it. They wouldn't take it on. They passed it back to the Met Police. And this is how you get put into this vicious circle, keep going round in a circle and hitting brick walls and hitting closed doors. They know what we know, they know what they did, but they don't want to own up to it. Because as much as they were cowards on the night, they're still cowards now.
Yeah.
And what's going to come out soon? In fact, I'm going to save it for when I do a live on the 26th at the scene. But I'm also going to point something else out that night.
Just want to say hello, Peter Smith, John Enoch Powell in the chat there. And I mean, besides all that, I mean, you've just talked about that with the police, but then there was the letter from the MP who looked at your evidence and said that, like, he wants to bring it up again. There's points that need to be bring up. And what was his name again? Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry, John. I'll explain it. So basically, it was the MP, Nick Hurd, and that was my MP at the time, but he also happened to be the Minister of Policing as well. But not only was there him, Boris Johnson was the MP to one of the other parents. They also had a meeting with him. They showed him a part of the evidence, and Boris Johnson put his head in his hand, shook his head, and went, I don't know what's going on. After that, once they left that meeting, he did nothing. My MP, because I kept having meetings, I kept pushing for meetings. And in those meetings, I kept having these long discussions with him and explaining things to him. And he could see I wouldn't go away. I couldn't tell you how many meetings I had with him up until the point that I had this meeting with him in Westminster with the Deputy Assistant Commissioner of the Met Police. But it was at that point, at that meeting, where we got a laptop out and we showed him how the witness statements cannot match the scene. Showed him how they don't match the scene, and a few other things we showed him. So we showed him part of the evidence. We showed him 4 points, 4 different evidences, and one of them alone to know that the main witness, the only witness that they used in our boy's case, his statements don't match the scene. And he wasn't in the car that they said he was in. So that put Nick Hurd in a position, right, I've seen this. And, you know, he did. He wrote a very strong letter to the Attorney General. It wasn't the first letter to the Attorney General, I will add, but in this letter to the Attorney General, he put he has seen part of the evidence himself and it now leaves doubt in his mind. And he also CC'd Boris Johnson in that. To date, we have never received a courtesy reply. But 6 days after that, 6 days, Nick Hurd, my MP, got shipped off to the Northern Ireland office, and then a little while after that, he stood down. So I never got to speak to Nick Hurd after he wrote that letter.
I know that, honestly, that just that one thing, Tracy, just that one thing should tell everyone in the country what bullshit that's going on. Just that one thing, because this is a member of parliament, respected and all that, and he's seen all your stuff and he agreed. You know, that should be enough. But you know, that's what I mean. Our politicians are so full of spineless, Tracy, aren't they? Just spineless.
Well, I think, you know, all the politicians are in there for a reason. Can I just say thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you for your comments. Clarice, I'm sorry to read, you know, that you've had so much abuse for over 20 years. I just want to point out to the people in the chat, we do really appreciate you being here and writing the kind things you are. Thank you very much. Right, sorry, John. Yeah, I think I'm sad to say because, as you know, I stood as an independent, and obviously you're the leader for the National Housing Party, and I stood as an independent myself on purpose. You know, in the general election in 2019 in December, and I can't stand politics because it's politics while we're in this.
Yeah,
While you
yeah.
know, there's a lot to it. You know, my belief differs to yours, John. But that doesn't matter. You support me and I support you. You know, that's just difference of opinion. And, you know, that doesn't mean you can't be friends with someone because you have a difference of opinion. It's bonkers how the world has gone today and you know how people are. You know what built our great country was the values and the morals and the courage and bravery that it had, but we've been too tolerant to the intolerance. And you know, and that's what's happened. I still see now, you know, some people write, oh my god, I can't believe that, you know, enough's enough. No, it was enough 20, 30, 40 years ago. That's when it was enough. It can't get any worse because it is worse. Children are being abused. We all know that. That's been ignored. Children and adults are being murdered. That's being ignored. In the meantime, over the last couple of years, they're changing legislation in the background with regards to the police that you cannot take the police to court over a tort law if they don't investigate your burglaries or your cars being stolen or anything. And people are not seeing this because they're distracted with everything else. And like someone said earlier, I think it was WK White Knight. They're puppets. There's people above them that control everything they say. They give them the scripts. They give the Prime Minister the script to read on the stand, and they just basically all lie and use doublespeak. And people, unfortunately, still fall for it because it's easier to fool someone than it is to tell them they've been fooled.
Well, Trace, yeah. What it showed, what you did the right thing by going as independent, because we know that they set you up, didn't they, in the hustings?
Yes.
With that guy come over, started pushing one of yours, or started a bit of thing, and they set you up, didn't they? But I get that. But I mean, it's up to us to call them out. So we had a candidate meeting in November coming up to this little election I did. So I went to it. So the Labour candidate were there, the Lib Dem candidate, the Independent, and the Conservative candidate. And so the guy said, "Have you got any questions?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got a question. Do you put seals on the boxes at the polling stations like you're supposed to? It says in the instructions." "Yeah, we do." "So I'll be able to check them, won't I?" He said, "Well, you can't." If he thought that I was going to go around and check in each individual box at each polling station before it goes to the council. I went, no. I'll have people, polling agents, to check these details, or my election agent. And then I went like that, because I'm just concerned, because fraud, voting fraud in Oldham is a massive issue. You should have heard how quiet the room went, Tracy. And I'm not lying, it is. And I know people do moan about voting, but until you get into the system and you see it happen, you can't say something. You've had first-hand experience, Tracy, of being set up at that hustings. I get that, and made me angry when I watched the hustings, and the way that whoever it was who were on stage said something back. "Yeah, we're not into the far right here," or whatever he said, and it was all set up. I get that, but we have to get into these things to see it really happen. So it might happen with me, but it's not happened yet. But I'm just going to be honest, with my, when I'm doing the council things, and I'm going to get these. I'm going to ask questions about voting and because Oldham has been flagged up for voting fraud, I can ask about it. And if it makes them feel uncomfortable, I think that's a good thing. You know what I mean? And we do need to speak out. So, I'm trying to get to political events where Great Manchester Mayor's question time, and I don't know if you've seen, but I've pulled him on political correctness. I've said the police may as well all be sex offenders. That's what I said in one of the Oldham Mayor's question time, and I said it to the Chief Constable of Oldham and the Deputy Chief Constable of Manchester. And this is what I said 2 years ago, and what's come out lately, there's 600, 800 investigations into misconduct within the police, and a lot of them are sexual things. They're not vetting the police right. That's all come out. And I've already said this to the police in Manchester, so they know I'm on them. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let them rest. Whenever there's a public meeting, I'm going to go up and say my thing. I don't think I'll get set up like you did in London, because it's just local in Oldham. But, it's up to me to get to these meetings, or to get people to these meetings to say the things that make the council uncomfortable, And I'm just going to do it. I'm going to keep on them. Even if I don't become a councillor, I'll be the biggest fawn in Oldham's side that they've ever had, Tracy. That's what I'm going to be. I'll be on the case. I'll be emailing about things. I'll be supporting other people. I've got at the moment. The other week, I supported 3 people who went into the council. One got a physical injury off one at security guards. Another guy's got issues with the police and the chief executive. And then another woman's telling me she was a whistleblower in 5-year-old schools or something, and she said things have been reported, but she said things that they didn't like, and then they cut a job off and stuff like that. She's got no money. They won't even pay her benefits. So I'm gonna get to know this woman a bit better. Then I'm going to be in council going on about it, and I'm going to go to a council meeting and say about it. You know what I mean? And and it's up to us to push ourselves to get that far. And I know, Tracer, that you already do this. You've been to newspapers, wherever you like the hustings and stuff like that, police stations. You're right in the front doing it, and rather than sitting at the side or just doing it opposite, you're right there, and that's what we need to do. I think that's definitely what we need to do.
Well, the one way to show what people are is to expose it, isn't it? And you can't expose it without, unfortunately, putting yourself in the firing line, so to speak, and doing these things. And, what some people, don't realise is that leading up to the 18th of March 2018, when I appeared at Speaker's Corner and spoke out, to the public that were there and who were listening, we was doing things in the background. We was having the meetings with the police. We was writing, to the legal aid board and questioning everything, and writing to the coroner and everything else. So we was attempting to follow their processes in the background to get someone to listen, and that wasn't working. We was just being totally ignored. So what is the next stage? It's to come out onto the streets. You've got the media hiding it. So you've got the media not being truthful to the public and making them aware of what happened to our boys and what is really going on our streets and in each town, you know?
Yeah.
And so you're fighting all of that. And then on top of that, when you do come out and you're being asked to speak here, there, and everywhere, which I always did if it was, a cause I believed in. I did that because I believed that was the right thing for those people or whoever the cause was about. Whether, I went and spoke up in, I think it was Nottingham. I know it begins with an N. I apologise if I've got the town wrong. I've done so many, for the veterans. And spoke there. My granddad was a veterans, and their treatment in this country is absolutely disgusting. But they treat everyone like that. Everyone's treated like that. And it's important for people to see this is going on, because we don't have a media that is telling the truth or telling the public what is going on. So we have to do it. And then you had some people that can't understand, that how much pain I'm feeling, how I'm able to do that. Well, that's tough for them if they don't understand that. I don't understand why they don't understand that, because then that tells me if it happened to them that they wouldn't stand up and do that. I thought that that's what we was taught. That was what was inbred in me, as an English woman, that no matter how much pain you're feeling, and believe me, there's no pain like it. And I know there's someone else in the chat who's had a similar experience and can back me up on that. There is no pain like it. It's immeasurable and it lives with you daily. It is just horrendous. And I don't want any other parent to go through that. I don't want their children to go through what our boys did, because our boys, believe me, were seriously hurt. Yeah, without going into detail. And then months down the line, we find out that they took samples from them and they didn't even tell us. So when we buried our children, we didn't even bury them whole. And they think that's all okay, but it's all about adding to your trauma so that you don't then see what they're actually doing. They're very clever at the same time in what they do when they try and hide what they hid. They're asking you things like, during the court, it happened on a Friday night, and that weekend they said to me, the police said to me, it was the liaison officer, she said, can we get the doctor to give you some tablets? I said, I don't want any tablets, thank you. I'm not a tablet taker anyway, in general. But no, thank you, I don't want any tablets. 3 days later, I'm still getting a call from the doctor saying that the police have rung them and informed them what happened, and ringing me, offering me tablets. I said, I've already told the police I don't want any tablets, because what they want you to do is forget what they're doing so you don't notice what they're doing, so they can continue to lie to you, and they hope that you don't notice that, you know. So yeah, there's just so much. But quickly, just jumping back to the election, it was actually John McDonnell that was
That's the
standing on
one,
the
yeah.
stand, and he's a high profile MP. He's a Labour MP, isn't he? And he's high profile. And when he stood on that stage that night at University before Boris Johnson came on, he stood there, and when he was speaking, he was mainly speaking what I had written on my leaflet. And I'm standing there looking at him thinking, he's speaking about what's on my leaflet. And then the next minute, my friend behind me gets punched in the side of his head by John McDonnell's best friend. And that's when all the media turn their cameras on us. And that's when John McDonnell then starts talking about the far right. Now, how staged and unbelievable is that?
Scumbag, honestly. I remember that happening, and I went and you know, I didn't hide my face or anything, but I went and said some things on Twitter to him, you know what I mean? And I'm not, you know, I didn't threaten him or anything like that. I just like practically called him a scumbag, you know what I mean? And you know, if I ever meet him face to face, first thing I'm going to say is about that. And I'd say, is that how you treat people? You know, like being an MP. Honestly, you know, these people don't know what's coming. Don't know what's coming, and they're afraid of us, Tracy. Because why do all that with you if it's not, you know, like obviously the police have covered up other murders, but because you was getting a lot of social media attention, that's not good for the police, is it? You know, it's just not good anyway, and you know, I could really see that the Met Police would really get broken up if your case came to the forefront. Forget what's been going on with that Sir Everard and Dame, whatever her name is. Forget anything that's going on. That if your case came to the forefront with the Met Police, it'd destroy them. It'd destroy that Met Police. It would.
Yeah, especially like, I mean, we still come across people now, John, that, you know, that if we're in a social situation and then, you know, someone realizes I'm the mother, because, you know, there's many people that remember the media's version of that story that night, which was a totally fake narrative. And we still get people now believing that our boys were at a bus stop, because whatever story gets out first tends to be the one that people remember.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense? That's,
Yeah, it
you
does. It
know,
does.
and that tends to be what they remember. And obviously, I'm so hidden, even though I do get stuff out, and the boys have got massive support. And, you know, I can't thank everyone enough for their support. And especially people whose support has never wavered in nearly 5 years. You know, I've been trolled in that whole time. I've had videos made up about me. I've had just awful, awful stuff. But I take it on the chin because that's what we was taught, you know, sticks and stones growing up. You know, name calling doesn't mean anything. When you're seeing adults, as awful as it is, when you're seeing grown adults talk like they're still in the school playground about someone, and people unfortunately believe in them without any evidence, I always say to people, ask for the evidence. I remember looking on social media one day, and it was in a massive group, I mean, with like 60 odd thousand followers. And I was looking at the comments, and I see this one woman had written, "Oh, I funded Tracy Blackwell. I gave her thousands," right? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And that is one of the only times I've responded. I wrote underneath and I said, "Can you tell me where you paid this?" Because obviously she could see it was me then who's responded. Where have you paid this? Could you tell me where? Because I'm telling you, you've never paid anything to me. I've never asked for a penny for me. It's always been about the boys. I've never asked for anything, for me. And she never wrote anything again. But this is how they do it. You know,
Mm.
how many pages do these trolls go in and groups go in? You know, they go in and you don't know where they all are. I'm writing these things and people just believe it. And they only need to get a second troll or a third troll to back up what they've written. And then to people, it looks like it's true.
Mm.
You know,
Well,
whereas I was just going to say, if anyone ever says anything to me about anyone, I always say, show me the evidence.
well, you know, you just said then you said about trolls, and I definitely get that there'll be people outside of like the nationalist movement who are trolling you know, really on the government side who we don't know about. But that wasn't the worst bit. It was the worst bit was what you was getting off the so-called nationalists. That's the bit that really upset me, Tracy, more than a troll who were hidden, but you know, he might have been a lefty. You know, they weren't worrying me. What were worrying me was about the people who we was close to, who were trolling and started saying horrible things. That was the worst thing I thought about the case. You know what I mean. And I've never forgotten it. Some of these people I don't talk to or have nothing to do with now, and you know the people who I do have to do with this case are all on board of it, such as Active, who we see
Active's great. Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday, and he's just great in what he does. Running around the country, but also like you, John. He's always supported the boys since day one, and that's never wavered. No matters what is said to him, because he knows more, like you.
yeah,
But sadly, there are many people that are easy persuaded. And, to be fair on them, there are many good people out there that are very good manipulators that can
mm,
convince someone that something has been said or this has been done. They're very good at it. I don't blame anyone who believed it. I believe the ones who instigated it. It's the ones that instigated it that is just unforgivable. But the
yeah,
ones who mistakenly just followed that, you can forgive them because they didn't know any better and they was just manipulated to think
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But going on back on to the ones who say they're nationalists and have been attacking the cause, and we all know who they are. You need to then question who they really are.
Well, I said it at the beginning, Tracy. I think it's because people were jealous because you was getting a lot of support. Because for people to survive in like doing stuff that they do, they need people to support them. And unfortunately, I think you was getting more popular and honest with the nationalists than other people are. And it's one of the things I've said it quite a few times. It's not what you've told me; it's what I've experienced myself. You know what I mean? I've experienced the fact that for a full night, someone was talking to me, trying to get me to go away from your case, and they never said you were lying. They just one of the things they said was, "Well, what's she going to get if she gets them to court or whatever? What's going to happen? Nothing will happen." That's what the kind of thing. They weren't giving me facts saying, "Well, Tracy's lied here," or she said that. They never said any of that. They were just like, "Well, she's not going to get anything, so why bother?" And I just thought, honestly, these people are sick, Tracy. These people are sick. I think you know the particular time because I seen you the next day.
Well, exactly, and something like the dual face monkey put there buckets with slits the size of letter boxes with £10 notes, busting out the top, as said by one lying creature, and that's being kind, calling him a creature.
Yeah,
Who incidentally also lied about making big donations. Like I even recently had to attend a police station purely based on all these lies. I recently had to do that, and I had to go into the police station where they had one of those in the car that night in that police station, and they only interviewed him for 13 minutes. 13 minutes. The one they claimed was a driver, they only interviewed for 32 minutes.
It's
32 minutes. They interviewed me for a lot longer than that, and I didn't go no comment. I didn't have anything to hide. I answered anything they asked. And, 2 weeks later, I got the letter saying no further action, of course, because there was never nothing there in the first place. But to subject me to that, and as much as I hated it, in a way, it done me a favour because now I have it officially in writing. Instead of me just saying none of this is true, I have it in writing.
Yeah. I just want to say hello to Arlene's back in the chat now after sharing. Thank you, Arlene. Thank you very much. And everyone else in the chat who's chatting and commenting. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Couple of pictures on screen. The fire station.
Yeah, sorry, John. Can I just quickly
go on,
say,
carry on.
No, please do what you're going to do. And I'm sorry to butt in. Can I just quickly say something to White Knight? Because we say this over and over again, and I appreciate what he is saying there. We've got to start coming together instead of slagging people off, because divided we are weak, united we are strong, united we win, divided we lose. And you're absolutely right with the divide and conquer, which they've used all throughout the years. They're even used in the Roman civil law, right? But the fact of the matter is, and I keep saying it, it is not infighting, it's infiltration. It's the infiltrators that are creating the arguments that make it look like arguing amongst everyone. But they're put there to agitate. They're put there to do that. Because as I've said before, a nation divided cannot stand. And everything's a divide. Everything the media do is to create divides. Whatever their story is, there'll always be a divide, and it's infiltration that is causing it. And then when you can weed out and see who the infiltrators are and who are doing this, you can stand a chance and everyone coming together. You don't have to have the same opinion. You just have the same common cause. Yeah, professional infiltration. Exactly, Caris. Right, sorry, John, because I stopped you there.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Thanks for that, White Knight. So on the picture you see on screen is a fire station, which is for me walking was about 6 minutes for me. Other people it might take a bit longer, but for me it was 6 minutes. And if I was that road is dead fast, and it's not like you see queues of cars on it. I didn't see any queues of cars on it, so that road is dead fast. So, and you've got you've already put out, haven't you, the recording of the fire station chief you talked to, didn't you?
Yes, I have. And it wasn't the first time that they've been doorstepped. But I won't discuss the first time they were doorstepped on this stream. I can't. But it was actually the second time they was doorstepped. But this time the commander was there. And during the course of me speaking to him and another gentleman who was there, he denied that fire service was called out that night to that scene. And yet we could prove that was a lie, because we had the little clip. Well, I didn't show the clip. I think I showed a picture of the fire engine there. But the fire service was held off by the police because our boy's case, it was gold paged. Now, you just said that took you 16 minutes to walk, but in a fire engine...
6 minutes. 6
minutes. 6 minutes. Sorry, John. 6 minutes to walk. In a fire engine, they'd have been there in 18, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
18 to 20 seconds. They have medical equipment on board. 2 of our boys were still alive, although the police again lied on the Monday and told us they all died instantly.
Yeah.
We can prove they didn't. 2 of them didn't. 1 did. That's absolutely disgusting. I was at that scene. The other parents were at that scene. And again, we was lied to there. So Our boys' case was gold page, which meant that any 999 call going in to the emergency services was being diverted to Lambeth
That's right. Which is
Control Centre.
right.
Well, counter-terrorism is at Lambeth. That's a fact. Counter-terrorism is based at Lambeth. Now, all the 999 calls were being diverted straight away to Lambeth. We have 2 calls. We only played one in the documentary. We actually have 3, but the third one is very questionable. But we have 3 calls. I put one in the documentary, but both these calls were answered by the same operator. But it makes sense, doesn't it? Because all the calls were diverted to Lambeth.
Yeah.
And there's a big thing regarding the call that wasn't played. There's a big thing regarding that. Now, you've got the caller saying that the car looks like it's going to explode. There's smoke coming out of the car. And she gets told to stay on the line and speak to the police.
When that's wrong, because they should have come out straight away. The fire service, whether if the police were phoned, the fire service should have come out, shouldn't they, to that car, no matter what was said.
Well, exactly that. It's in their own policy and procedure regarding the fire service where they act slightly a bit different. That if they don't have to receive a call. If they know something's going on, they can come out straight away. They don't have to wait for a call. But they didn't. They was held off till 9:26. And then they was asked to come to the scene with their heat equipment, to search. They wanted to search to see if there was any more bodies, basically. And that is all they used them for. Now, anyone knows, logically, that if there's anything to do with a car, there could be spillages, a car could explode, and especially at a devastating scene like that. But the fact is, they was called, but when I went there, the commander denied it without knowing that I already knew they was called and had been called and had attended.
But
which
you've
you
already
see in the documentary.
was it
Sorry?
in the documentary that or
Yeah, it's in the documentary. I put that bit in there because I wanted to put enough in there for people to, who maybe was 50-50, not really understanding a lot of what I'd been speaking about, or I appreciated anybody just believing what I was telling was true, but I wanted to give something to show. Look, here it is. Here's what I've been saying. There's proof in that video alone. Enough proof in there to show the lies that have been told of really what happened to our boys that night.
So this is Sheppiston Lane that's going past the fire station. So the first night I was there was Thursday night, and I walked up that road right into the town centre, went to the pub, come right back down, and just wanted to get a feel for the road and see the area for myself, because I'd never been, me, Tracy. I know you did that demo really early, the first year.
Yeah.
And but I never attended that, and I wanted to come down. I wanted to, not just for a demo, I wanted to see the situation myself and have a walk around and see it with my own eyes. And it really did open me up. Them couple of days I spent there and talking and finding out other stuff it's just not right. You know what I mean? It's just not right. And but like you said, people need to research for themselves, and people are doing it now. People are taking conversations, recording conversations, seeing that the police have lied and things like that, and done stuff like that. But we need to still keep doing this and then call them out when we can. You know what I mean? I'm hoping when I'm a councillor that I'll go in the council with a piece of paper and the council will all start pooing the pants, because that piece of paper is going to have equivocal evidence that they've done things wrong and stuff like that. And I'm going to do it, even if I don't become a councillor. Like I said, I'll be a form in Oldham's council side for the rest of my life. And I know that I do make an impact because some of the videos I've done and some of the stuff I put on social media, other people won't. Other people in Oldham won't, but I will. And, I've got a bit of attention. The council are very well aware of me. And, and I've complaints to housing associations. I've sent questions into the council for council meetings and stuff like that. And I'm going to continue to do it. But we have to call them out. We have to call them out. But again, Tracy's case, look at Tracy's YouTube and look at her early videos. Honestly, they're very self-explanatory. And with the stuff that she's put out since, a lot of the case links up and you can see a big trail in the case. But yeah, Tracy, honestly, my support will never stop. Even if I'm a political party, aligning yourself with street groups isn't really the thing, but we're going to do it. We're not going to stop. I'll always support your case, even if I am as the leader of the National Housing Party or John Lawrence. I will support the boys' case. There's nothing's going to take me off it. Nobody's going to change my mind. No one's going to blag me. No infiltration will work. No one's will be able to brainwash me or anything against anything that Tracy says. And getting to know people, Tracy has always been honest with me. Always. We've done loads of things together. And when I ask Tracy something, she tells me. And, I can't say enough about that. And that's the kind of person I am anyway. I'll ask questions and about stuff. And I think you came up to Manchester United and I asked Tracy about funding then. She gave me some figures. And for the rest of that week, I was going on about this and wanting people to donate to it and stuff like that. And I've never felt at any point in the time that I've known Tracy that she's hiding from me. No, she doesn't hide nothing. As honest as I am, Tracy is. And the people who know her, a lot of the people in this chat, you'll know that. You really know that. But Tracy, honestly, big love to you. And everyone else who's supporting you, and hopefully soon I'll get down and we'll spend some time together.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, John. Can I just quickly put in there, because you mentioned it there, in back early to 2018, when we had the Walk of Respect, which you just mentioned, we started off. There's a pub further down that road, and not that far from the fire station, just further down on the left. Now it has 32 cameras. Now the police made sure that they didn't go to that pub till 6 weeks later, knowing that the CCTV would have then been written over, because they know the policy and procedure and how businesses and how long they have to keep the CCTV for. So they made sure that they didn't go there till 6 weeks later, so that they could just tick off, oh yeah, we did check that pub, knowing it would have been written off, because it would have proved that that car came down from the fire station end first, which shows the premeditation of the murder of Josh, Harry and George. Alone, it shows that. So they haven't put in anywhere their documents regarding the pub. They just mentioned the Premier Inn and they mentioned the garage regarding the CCTV. There is also a couple of bed and breakfasts on that road that has CCTV. They avoided any CCTV that could have proved that that car came down the other way that night. Yet they slipped up when we was taken to the Premier Inn before they told us that all our boys had died. When we was taken to the Premier Inn was oh hang on, I've lost it now. Sorry, I put myself off by saying that. Regarding the CCTV. But going back to the Walk of Respect, we started off in that pub, and they're very nice people who run that pub. And all of us gathered at the pub, and after we'd done the Walk of Respect, we went back to the pub and they'd put on some food for us. The very next day, the licensing police went to that pub, and they was asking the owner how many people turned up, were they ever going to do it again, because that could be a risk to their license, basically threatening the pub, because that's where we left that day and that's where we went back. So this is how much they want to hide everything they've done.
It's crazy. The pub's called the Great Western, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I visited it. Me and Arlene have been in it, and obviously I know you visited it, Tracy. But and so because the car, so it'd been eyeing up. So do you think he drove past the kids once and then came back?
Yes.
Would you say something? Yeah, that's what I would think. And he'd seen them all and then thought, because at the end of Shepperton Lane, just past the thing, you can turn around there, can't you?
Absolutely, John. You can. You can turn round right in front of the Premier Inn.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
Right.
can.
The
You can.
place that they said didn't have a camera that faces the road, and yet it does have a camera that faces the road.
Yeah, because you've got to press a button if you're a car. You've got to press an intercom
Exactly.
thing.
And if you look, you can even probably get it up on Google Maps tonight. If you look, you'll see a camera there facing that. And if that car turned round in that spot, that camera would have picked it up.
Yeah,
But of course, we just got told that no cameras. This is all near Heathrow Airport. And now what they did the last couple of years is they've put this humongous camera that you just can't miss, with loads of other cameras around it, right in front of the cemetery, but not for the safety of anyone, just to see who visits the scene.
yeah,
That's how sick they are.
yeah.
Yeah, so was there anything else you wanted to ask?
No, we've just done over an hour, so I'll leave it for now. But
Right, brilliant.
I'll keep on top of your streams, and when you're streaming, I'll make sure I'm pretty active. And but I'm definitely during the summer sometime, Tracy. I'm coming down. We'll spend some time together, and talk and do whatever. Have something to eat, drink, and but we'll spend some time together. I promise you. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I mean, I wanted to do this. I've been involved in the case since 2018, and I've been supporting Tracy all the way through wherever I can. I've done my own videos about it. I've talked about Tracy's case at the Tory conference twice, and other places. Anybody asks me about that case, I'll go into detail about it, and I get asked a lot. And I've even my granny Shania came down a couple of times. She understands the case. He explained it to her. She still asks me now what's going on and stuff to do with the case. So, but again, thank you very much for coming on, Tracy, and thank you everyone in the chat. And let's just not forget Josh, George, and Harry. And in our Bible class next week, I'm going to get Paul Rimmer to say a little prayer at the beginning, and it'll be for Josh, George, and Harry. But thank you very much, Tracy. Thank you, love.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, John, and thank Paul for when he does that from me, please. And thank you, just as importantly, to everyone in the chat tonight who have commented, said kind words, or just joined us, and to the people who are just listening in the background. Thank you very much. Thank you for the support for the last 5 years. For me, it doesn't feel like 5 years. It's groundhog every day. It's like last week to me. But it's so important I get justice for my son and for those boys, because they're not here to use their voice, but I am here for them to do that. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. Thanks, love. Again, everyone, in my description is a Fighting for Justice Facebook page and Tracy's YouTube channel. And, donate, please donate, because there's still a case to go. And whatever we do, we need to support that case to show up and expose the police and everything for who they are. But please, again, in the description is the Fighting for Justice Facebook page and Tracy's YouTube channel, and she's got hundreds of videos on it. I watched Tracy's channel when there were just 2 videos on, and there's a couple of hundred now, and explains a lot about the case and other things as well. Tracy's been to the media. You've been to media wherever they are in London. She's been there calling them out. She's been to police stations, phone calls to everyone, and you know, I can only just imagine what it's all like to do that, Trace. I can only just imagine that the work behind it, and I know that the work behind, I know a lot of what you've done, and you know, I'm not saying I couldn't do it. I might be able to do some of it, but a normal person would struggle. But thank you, Tracy. Thank you very much, love, and big respect, and give everyone my love down there.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and my love to you all.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Bible class on next Wednesday. We were supposed to have it last night, but we was at a meeting. So Bible class next Wednesday. If you want to join or you want to participate, you can email Pat McGuinness, patrick.mcguinness@nationalhousingparty.uk. And I'll say it again, and I've said this. I don't go on that I'm a practicing Christian. I'm not. But I was christened, and I got brought up with Church of England values. I also did Sunday school, and I attended the Boys Brigade. So the church has been around me for a long time, and it's not left no imprint. It has left an imprint to make me the person who I am today. It's part of who I am. My family is fairly religious. My dad's side of the Jamaican family are religious. My mum's side, my great uncle was a pastor at a church in Oldham. So yeah, you know, I don't suppose I'm a practicing Christian. I don't go around saying I believe in God and stuff. I don't say that, but I do accept that it is part of who I am. Again, Sunday school, Boys Brigade, all these things are linked to the church, and if you've ever done them, you'll know what it's like. You know, at junior school, we were singing the Lord's Prayer in the morning before we started our lessons. That was every morning that we did that. I don't think there's many schools that do that now, but in Oldham, that's what the schools were like when we were around then. So, but I think the Bible class is good. Paul gets people to speak. Last week, somebody told us their story of finding God. It was a powerful story. It was a powerful story. I'm not going to repeat it, but it was a powerful story for anyone who was listening. And we had 7 people in the chat, and they all said, unbelievable. Such a powerful story of finding God by one of the people who were in the chat. But that's on a Wednesday. On a Tuesday, I have an hour with Paul Rimmer, and we'll talk about party things or like national things. We've discussed immigration. We've also discussed a bit of the family and stuff like that, but we will be discussing more of these. And then obviously on a Thursday, I'll try and do a stream every Thursday and have some guest on or something. I've got a few people lined up. I want to we've got, me and Arlene got a couple of friends up in Scotland, and the part of the Scottish Justice team. Let me just get the page up. Scottish Justice Team, they're called. And I mean, I would say they're a bit like PAG UK, but in Scotland. And we know Davy and Caroline, who are part of the group. And they expose paedophiles, they expose where they live, they catch them, they go after paedophiles, they'll catch them, just like PAG UK and other paedophile guys do. Paedophile groups, paedophile catching groups do, and they do a lot. So I'm going to get Davey on in a couple of weeks. He's a really good guy, and they're really on it in Scotland. And I know Scotland's got they're under pressure now, Scotland, with the gender stuff more than we are here at the moment. So but yeah, and they do great work. They do great work. But Scottish Justice Team, you can look on there for the stuff. I think they've got stings on, demos, wherever they've gone to call people out goes up. I'll put the link in the StreamYard. But thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. It's been a great show. Tracy is certainly one of my besties that I've met in the past few years. And there's nothing that I won't support with Tracy. Again, I believe she's an honest, truthful person. She's not a scally or a troll like we've met people, and I support her 100%. But Josh, George, and Harry, that's who we're thinking about, and it's 5 years. 5 years, guy, next week. 5 years, guys, next week. But Josh, George, and Harry, I wish I got to know these lads. I really do. And you know, teenagers, my nephews, I spent a lot of time with my nephews when they were this age, you know, and stuff like that, and doing. But you know, I just wish I'd known them personally. But I do feel like I do know them in spirit. But thank you very much. It's John Lawrence here. And thank you very much for tuning in. And I'll catch you all up soon. Thank you very much.